Hi everyone, it's Jennifer and Zach from the writing program, and we've made some resources for you today on Canvas. So this is a sample unit for a 103 class in both online and HyFlex model, and a sample unit for a 104 class, also one designed for HyFlex and one designed for online. So we're going to pop over to Canvas and show you what it looks like. All right, so here's what our module looks like. It starts with Module 0, which we took from the strategic learning people and adapted a little bit for the writing program. So the idea is that your students would start here and go through this module to learn how to use Canvas, how to use your course specifically on Canvas. Just some quick highlights here. Some of this you can copy and take as is. Some of it obviously meet your instructor. You'll fill in about you. One of the most important things when teaching in this environment is to have the students know how to reach you and how to get your feedback. So we have how to contact your instructor for you to fill in. And Zach made us a handy video under finding instructor feedback that you might want to just take for a regular face-to-face course that shows your students how they find your comments on their papers when they're in Canvas. A couple other things I want to point out here. We've, of course, got some of the regular syllabus information, and you can fill in with some of your policies and such. But also under participation here, it talks about things like the course load, how many hours a week do students spend on it. And this is important particularly online when they don't have those face-to-face meetings to know how much should they be logged on, how often should they be visiting your class, that kind of thing. So you want to make those expectations clear. Another thing I put up here, in case you are interested in using a full grading contract for the entire course, I put an example of one of those that you could adapt so you can pull that up if that's a way that you are interested in grading, or you could put other grading criteria in here under the course policies. And this also involves students being able to do a discussion board introduction of themselves, and finally a task for them to complete to say that they've finished this unit, they've read all of the materials, and they're ready to start the course. You could also make this more of a survey, or somewhere have a syllabus quiz or something like that, but something that shows that they've done this is important, and you can even set your other modules to not show up until they've completed it. So then after that we have some examples. Zach's going to talk about his 103 examples.
Okay, hello. Yes, we are taking a look at the unit that I designed for an online or HyFlex class individually. This first one here, as you can see, is labeled all online. So anything that I designed for an online class specifically, I made sure to put that all online tag. And as far as I know, I believe Jennifer did the same in her unit. But just to sort of think about the difference between how Jennifer and I both designed sort of online versus HyFlex classes. The main point is that in both cases, in both units, we start with this rhetorical analysis learning guide for me. For Jennifer, it is a proposal learning guide. This is something we tried to standardize to make it so that regardless of what you are teaching, you sort of have this model to follow that will sort of be the handbook for your unit that your students will be using. It starts with an overview of the things that they will be learning throughout the course, or throughout the unit, excuse me. Specific objectives and learning goals so that they're aware of what you expect out of them and maybe what they should be expecting out of the 4 weeks of the course. It will include things like the texts that you'll be using, both textbooks and exterior videos, any readings that you have that aren't in that textbook, links to external documents, etc., etc. Important things for my section specifically, but also Jennifer's section a little generally, depending on what the students for a 104 proposal decide to work with. I tried to provide some content warnings for students because a lot of the work in the unit that I designed deals with social justice issues, and some of those social justice issues are kind of contemporary, as you may imagine. And part of the conversation that Jennifer and I had was attempting to provide options for students that would not re-traumatize them or force them to live traumas that they may have experienced, say, as students of color, as women, as LGBT students, et cetera, et cetera. So trying to provide options that they could engage with, while also warning them in the engagement of these materials, you may come across something that you might find potentially triggering. And finally, in both of our modules here, the learning guides, there are a list of activities that are due, sort of when they're in order, when they are chronologically due throughout the week. Transitioning now just to talk about the minor differences you might see in our units in the online or in the HyFlex category. We'll take a look at the introductions that I have in my section that Jennifer also has in hers to see sort of the minor differences there. We'll open our online one, and then I'll scroll down and open my HyFlex one so you can see. Looking at the online intro, you'll notice I have a video for this one and for the week 2 intro. Just as samples, you don't have to use these. In fact, you probably shouldn't, because I'm not the instructor of this course. But minor differences you'll see here in the online only class where there is no physical meeting point, there aren't really specific deadlines other than end of the week. We might be having ongoing discussions throughout the week, but realistically speaking, I don't need my students to have something in by a class period because that doesn't exist in online. In HyFlex, however, you'll notice that I have things like do this by the cohort meeting day. I don't know when their cohort meeting day will be, but realistically, this was designed with a Monday, Wednesday, Friday course schedule in mind. So a student will see this, see due by cohort meeting, and will know, okay, I need to get this done by Wednesday at 2 for them. You can be more specific here if you'd like, say due by cohort meeting, cohort 1 Monday, cohort 2 Wednesday, cohort 3 Friday. But this is sort of without having those actual dates known for this imaginary class, as close as we could get to specific due dates here. The main difference between my section and Jennifer's section on Canvas that you'll notice is that I have my class organized by topics, whereas Jennifer will have her class organized chronologically. The reason I have my class organized by topics is because that's how I tend to do it in my classes when I teach. I tend to lump things like reading responses, discussions, and homework posts together so that if my students are curious what was homework this week, they can know exactly where to go. Jennifer organized it, again, a very intelligent way. If you click the next button at the bottom of a homework assignment, you will inevitably go to the next homework assignment. Both of these, I think, are interesting ways of organizing a class. It just depends on what you feel most confident as or comfortable with as an instructor. This is also a great opportunity maybe to talk to your students and ask them which they prefer. You have examples of both, and the wonderful thing about these modules on Canvas is that you can say you need to change something, move it around. It is as simple as clicking and dragging to quickly reorganize something from a chronological to a topic-based organization system. Just to wrap up my section here, I wanted to show you how I was including a more traditional holistic rubric here. This is how I tend to do it when I teach, but there are other ways which Jennifer will show you later on. This is an external link which can be seen by this symbol right here that looks like a link. When I or students click on this, this will open up a separate window that will show them a Google Docs page where they can see their rubric embedded. This is one way to do it that is interesting in that it allows students to possibly like edit and work with this if you want to give them that power in the class. That's sort of why I do this Google Drive, Google Docs thing, so that we can have this as an editable document throughout the semester. But again, this is just one way to do it, linking to an external source to show students what their grading criteria will be.
So I've prepared 2 units, well, 1 unit twice, once for an online course and once for a HyFlex course for a proposal in 104. So I've started each one, like Zach had showed you, with kind of the learning guide. For me, I had simplified this and just had the overview and objectives here, but then I have for each week what he was talking about, a to learn, to read, to turn in. And one of the differences is in my HyFlex one, this is my online one, I added a to attend, like what do you do in class? So I'll show you that in a minute. One reason I did do it chronologically is this ability to just hit next and go, okay, I'm on week 1, what do I do? Okay, first I do this, here's my reading right here. Here's what I have to turn in right there. And then here is a discussion post. So one of the things that I learned recently about Canvas is instead of under the discussions tab, having all the boards there, you can develop them right in the modules. So this was really key for me doing the online version, was that students could just post there and respond right there to each other. So here's my HyFlex one. So like I said, on these, you'll see a difference with in-class meetings, and like in Zach's, I put, what is it you're supposed to complete before you come to class? And then when you get to those are more workshops. So I was kind of envisioning that as my chance to do more interactive things in class rather than lectures, more interaction between students, because theoretically, if we're having small enough classes for social distancing, those will be pretty small groups. So this is an on-class workshop on choosing a topic. In the online version, they just share it as a discussion board, and in the face-to-face HyFlex, that's what they do in class that week. And then a couple other quick things to show you. So my proposal assignment has attached a rubric that Emily Scheiss nicely built in Canvas. So if you do build these up in Canvas, you have to put in points, I believe, but then when you go to grade it, you can just click on the points right there in Canvas, and the students can see the rubric right there alongside their assignment. So there are some advantages if you use rubrics to doing it that way. But again, it depends on, like Zach said, the level of control you want and whatnot, because Canvas does limit to an extent what you can do there. Other things I wanted to point out to you, I did put some due dates for my unit. These are the kind of thing, obviously, you'll want to modify if you take any of these materials to fit with your class. I think Zach did not put those in, but I just kind of, to show the pacing, put them in mine. And then I end each unit with a wrap up. That for me is where that self-reflection piece comes in. The Canvas workshops had this as kind of a, here's what you learned, like an overview, but I turned that into more questions they would actually have to submit of what they learned in the unit, what they would carry on to other units, and how they would use the material in the future. So I like to do that at the end of my units in class. So I would just be doing it on Canvas here. So some overall takeaways about what we learned designing these course units in different formats. Zach, what's your overall takeaway?
The biggest for me is definitely going to be those individual introductions to the weeks and the modules that we created. When I was talking originally with Jennifer about this, I said that I sort of imagined those little mini intros as that 5 minutes at the start of the class where you write the agenda on the board for the day or for the week. And I frame those as that in those introductions, like this is our whiteboard that we can't actually have physical access to. This is just a way to make sure your students are fully aware, okay, for the Monday through Friday of this week, here's what I need to do because Instructor Zach or Instructor Jennifer told me that's what we have to do. What about you, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think what Zach said about the whiteboard really stuck with me too, because while there's lots of good pedagogy specifically for online classes, we're still very much in a place where we're not all online instructors and our students aren't all online students. They're getting in these classes without necessarily knowing that's what they're signing up for. So when you're able to say, like, think of this as the whiteboard, think of this as That time at the end of the unit where we wrap things up and you do this in class. Like, think about these things that we do in classes. Both, I think, is helpful because obviously it's not a one-to-one translation, but for those of us that are new to this and our students who are, I think some of those things can help us think through things right now.
Absolutely. I think just sort of as a final thing, the thing that we both sort of have been taking away from this process is just the amount of times you should be repeating information for your students. This is a great in-class, in-person practice as well, but online it is integral to the success of your class. There are so many like cross links and different links to different assignments in our projects, in all of the modules. That is not an accident. Those are all on purpose, so that students have access to those things in various different forms. We want to make it as hard as possible for them to lose something in an online space, because it can be very easy to just let something disappear.
Yep, exactly. So how can you use this? Well, you can adapt it to your own classes. You can take any of our materials and use them directly. You can change things, whatever works for you. So we have shared this to the Commons, and that is on Canvas. And you do have to be logged in to Canvas. Make sure that you're logged in. Even if you think you are, maybe log in again if you can't find it. But Zach's going to show you how to copy this to your course, and I hope it will be useful and that we can all continue to share materials as we adapt our pedagogy.
Hey everyone, just one last part of this video for you all, how to download and use our template. You'll see here that I'm on the dashboard, and on the left-hand side of your screen is the link to the Commons. So our stuff has been uploaded to Commons already. In order to find it, you want to come here and search for Writing Program Example. And it should show up. Jennifer should be the instructor on it. Click on this. I would recommend the first thing you want to do is click over here and add it to your favorites so that you can, keep track of it, find it easily. And then when you are done with it, you want to download it. Put it on your desktop. This is a less useful option. What you will want to do is import this to your course. So let's say you want to use my rhetorical analysis unit. You click here, you can delete everything else and just keep that unit up. If anyone would like one of the modules over the other, you can let us know and we'll try afterwards just to upload one of the modules for you. But as of right now, this full module with the introduction on how to use Canvas and both sample units are uploaded on the Canvas Commons for you to use at your leisure. Let us know if you need anything else, and good luck.